I had a job until I could figure out what it was really, what that gave my life its purpose and meaning. And I'd gotten demoted in my job in Baltimore as an anchor woman because as they hired me and then they decided I was the wrong color and I was the wrong size and I was the wrong, I had lots of problems and they were trying to take me off the air. And I was making $22,000 a year. I thought I was in heaven because I was making my age. And my dream at the time was, Gail and I used to say, can you imagine if you're 40 and you're making 40,000? Ooh, that'd be it. So that was as big as my dream was, just to make my age. And then I did this, they put me on a talk show one morning because they didn't know what to do with me. And I was interviewing the Carvel Ice Cream Man. It was a local talk show. And Benny from, Benny, who was Mrs. Chancellor's butler or something on All My Children. Anyway, a soap opera star who wasn't the lead star. Remember Benny? Yeah. Benny and the Carvel Ice Cream Man. That's how I cut my teeth. And I finished that show. So it's not about the stars themselves or whoever the guests were, but I felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. All these years I've been misplaced in news because I couldn't relate to news. I was a news reporter and I'd be out on the stories and I'd be crying with the people. And I felt that I was exploiting the people with news. I couldn't, put a microphone in people's face when they were going through tragedies and stuff. I just was so emotional. I was always getting little notes from my boss about, cut that out, you need to stop. So, but the moment I did that talk show, I felt like, oh, I can be myself. And that was August 14th, 1978. And that was the beginning of fulfilling the calling. And so since that time, August 14th, 1978, I've never had a problem with energy. Now, when I was working in news, I used to be exhausted all the time. Just exhausted all the time because I hated it. And the reason I didn't quit is because I'm not a quitter, number one. And because my father was like, better not quit that job. You're making $22,000 a year. Who's gonna pay a black woman $22,000 a year? You're never gonna make that kind of money again. You better save half of it. So I was reluctant to quit and think about doing something else because I thought, okay, everybody wants to be an anchor woman. At the time, that was like supposedly a big deal, being an anchor woman. So I thought, okay, I'll just stay with this until I can figure out what is the best thing to do. And interestingly enough, I was applying for what I wanted to do. I felt like I needed to be able to talk. And at the time, the only thing that was available was Good Morning America or the Today Show. So I called up this agent and I asked if he would accept my tape because I wanted to be like a substitute for Bryant Gumbel. And he said to me, there was only gonna be one Bryant Gumbel. And so there wasn't gonna be another one, that they weren't gonna another black person on that show. He said that to me. And interestingly enough, he called me last week because somebody else mentioned his name to say he never said it, but he did say it. And I said to him, you know what? If you're ever told that, you never forget it. If somebody ever says to you, if you're ever rejected in that way, you never, ever, ever forget it. I said, but it's okay. I did okay, you did okay. It's all right. It's all right. But the answer to your question is, if you can find what is your passion, if you find what you love, you never get tired. Or if you do get tired, you're fueled by the energy of your work. So I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing at this time. I also know that what this show can do in terms of being a voice in changing the world, it's just the beginning of what this show can do. It's fun to do things like this, and it's necessary to do things like this in order to be able to do the bigger, grander things, to change what happens to the face of children in Africa, for example, or what happens to education with kids in this country. So I believe that what has happened to me is really the beginning of the greater passion to come. But if you find out what you're supposed to do, and you know what you're supposed to do by how it feels. You know, people wait on the voice of God to be the Moses in the burning bush. I think that was only Bible talk, because he doesn't come to burning bushes for people. He comes through your heart. He speaks through your heart, through your feelings. And so you know if you're doing the right thing, if it feels like it's right to you. And when you hit the thing that feels right, when you know it's the right thing, you know it's right because it gives you your juice, and you know it's right because you would do it for nothing. You would do it for nothing and find a way to be able just to do it in order to be able to continue. That's how you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Finding your passion is one of the most important and least understood things that I think you can do, especially as an entrepreneur. We've all heard the expression, find your passion, find your passion. You got to do what you love. And from all the videos that I've done and all the people that I've studied and profiled, whether they're entrepreneurs, innovators, athletes, recording artists, like whatever they are, the number one rule that they all have in common is find your passion. When I get asked, you've studied all these people, what's the most common thread? That's it. Find your passion. You have to be doing the work that you love. But how do you do it? How do you find it? Because most of the time we know what we don't want, right? You know the life that you don't want. You know the people who you don't want to be hanging around. You've been at some job that you do not enjoy. We typically know what we don't want, but we haven't done the work or been given the tools to know what we do want. And that's what I'm going to cover in this video. For me, I love helping entrepreneurs. I think your purpose comes from your pain, right? So whatever you struggle the most in life is what you want to help other people through. You are built to serve. So your purpose, your passion becomes a part of that, will definitely be in service to other people somehow. It's not enough for it just to be about you. You have to be doing other things. I just came from doing some squats. I feel a little out of breath, but this is amazing. I love this. This is the best. And so your purpose comes from your pain. Your purpose is to help other people through something, especially what you went through yourself. The passion component, though, is actually enjoying the work to get people to the other side. So for me, I love helping entrepreneurs. I struggled a lot in my early days as an entrepreneur, and I'm basically trying to make the world of 19-year-old Evans who are struggling not struggle as much as I did. And I'm a visual learner, so I'd much rather see visual content than anything else. YouTube did not exist when I was getting started, and so I'm trying to share whatever wisdom I have, share the lessons from other successful entrepreneurs so that all of the 19-year-old Evans out there can learn and can improve and get better. I have a process that I call the passion process. And if you go through this process, it'll help you identify your passion and give you a lot more light, love, energy, and money, because we got to make money as entrepreneurs. So the passion process is this, if you want to go through it. Make a list of all the things that you've done to help other people, especially the kind of people who are who you used to be. Like, make a list. And I went through this process in Built to Serve. I did this with my wife to help her find her passions. This is where it was birthed. But if you just make a list of all the things that you enjoyed helping people with, like you got them a result. You're so happy that they are now in a different spot because of what you did. Like, what did you do where you showed up and you helped somebody with something? And just, if you want to pause the video, you can. If you want to make a mental list, just all the things that you've done to help other people, okay? After you have that list, then write down or just circle the ones that you actually enjoyed the process of doing as opposed to just the end result. This is where we get stuck. This is where entrepreneurs get trapped, okay? We enjoy the end result of what we've done, but we don't enjoy the process of doing it. How many times have you helped somebody else out because you're a good person, because you're built to serve, because you love that person, or even you see yourself in that person and you just want to help. And you're so happy that you helped them, but you didn't actually enjoy the work that you were doing. And that's the key difference. The result has to be there that you help somebody, of course. And the thing that will make you light up, come alive, love doing for the rest of your life is the actual work you're doing you love too. So to bring it home, that's some great theory, awesome. In my example, the example that I use in Built to Serve in my book is I love helping entrepreneurs. Like, I want to see you win. Every day I wake up and I try to figure out what else can I do to try to help entrepreneurs win? How else can I help the 19-year-old Evans of the world out there get their business off the ground? And if you were to move your office, say you're going from a home office to you got your first office. It's like, wow, you got your first place, amazing. And you needed help moving. I could help you move. And I would be so happy to see you in your new office. The problem is, I don't enjoy the process of moving. I don't want to unplug computers and pack them in boxes and move desks. And sure, it might be a fun workout, but I don't get lost in the process of that, right? I don't love it. I love the end result of helping the entrepreneur, but I don't love the process of getting the entrepreneur to that result. And that's the key difference. That's where most of you will get trapped. You love the end result and feel like what you're doing matters and is important, great. And you get that little hit at the end, like, yes, I helped that person. But did you actually enjoy the process of you doing the work? And if not, that's what we need to revisit. Most entrepreneurs are doing too much of the work that they do not enjoy, just trying to get to the result. Now, not everything you do is going to be amazing. Not everything that you do is going to fill you up with joy and passion. A lot of running a business does suck, and you have to do things. Accounting and taxes and legal stuff is not stuff that makes me come alive and I find joyous. But your goal as an entrepreneur needs to be to spend more time in that zone of genius where you do actually love it. And at the beginning, maybe it's 50-50, but hopefully as you build and scale and grow and learn more about yourself, you can shift the percentage of how much you do that is in your zone of genius that you love doing versus what has to get done to grow the business, right? And as you build and scale and grow, that's hopefully where team comes into place to handle all those things that have to get done that you don't enjoy doing. So if you make your list of all the ways that you have helped people, if you have no idea, what's my passion? You have no idea. Make a list of all the things that you have done that you've enjoyed the result of helping somebody. What have you done to help people? Then circle the ones where you actually enjoyed the process. So I don't want to help entrepreneurs move and pack boxes, even if it leads to a great result. I want to do something that I actually enjoy doing. So making videos. I like making videos. This is a special day actually, because I recorded videos yesterday. I made tons of videos from my main channel. Lots of videos, my big filming day. And then my editor, Christina, who's amazing. We love you, Christina. She tells me this morning, hey, all the videos that you recorded yesterday are gone. Not gone, but the audio sucked. Like my microphone setting wasn't turned on properly and they all have to be redone. That was so much work yesterday, and I spent, a few moments kind of grieving the time that is lost. And it's okay. Let's go. Let's get up and keep making videos, right? I've done, just on the main channel, 12,000 videos. Not all of them are listed publicly. And then all my sub channels. I don't know how many videos I've made. How do you stay consistent? People ask me, how have you made so many videos over so many years, since April 2009? It's averaging over 1,000 videos a year. How? Because I like it. I love making videos, right? Like there's no way that you can keep going doing the thing that you're doing if you don't enjoy the actual process. You would quit, you would give up, you would burn out. You burn out, you're facing burnout, you're doing too much work that you don't enjoy. I don't have burnout because I like the work that I'm doing. And yes, even though I have to record all the videos all over again that I recorded yesterday, it's still fun. I still enjoy making the videos. That's how I don't burn out from the process. Somebody asked me yesterday on my Instagram, what do you do in your free time? It's all free time. You get to decide. You're an entrepreneur. This is all free time. So in my free time now, I'm making videos. And then after this, I'll have more free time. And I'll doesn't mean that my free time is spent only, like lying on the beach or something. I don't really enjoy lying on the beach. I like being intentional, I guess, productive. But even if I'm doing something with my wife or my son or my family or something fun, it's still intentional. It's still all free time. You get to pick as an entrepreneur. So choosing to spend the time on things you enjoy that also bring you money and help you have the impact that you want to have becomes the whole game. That's how you win as an entrepreneur. And it's how you avoid burnout. And it's how you avoid quitting. It's how you can stay consistent on your goals and on your dreams. So for me, it's making videos. My purpose is to help entrepreneurs, because that's what I struggled with as an entrepreneur myself. And so your purpose comes from your pain. That's me. My purpose comes from my pain. So that's I go through exercise and build to serve who, I, how. That's my why, right? The how is your passion. So how am I going to help entrepreneurs win, believe in themselves? There's lots of ways I could do it, but the way that I enjoy the most, at least right now, is making videos. So same exercise for you. Who do you want to help? What's your purpose that comes from your pain? And then how can you go and help them, and make that list of all the ways that you can. And then and even if you haven't done it yet, even if you haven't helped people yet, what do you think might be fun to do? What do you think might be enjoyable to do, where you can get lost in the process, where it could be 4 hours later and you didn't even realize, like it feels like you just got started. Have you had those days when you're working on something and it's like time flies by? That's good, you're in flow. And other times where you're working on something, accounting, where time seems to be so slow. It's like, oh my gosh, it's only been an hour. Are you kidding me? It feels like it's been 3 weeks. Let's use that as a sign that these are not the things that long-term you should be doing. Maybe short-term you have to, but long-term you shouldn't be doing. figuring out your passion, I think, is one of the most important exercises that you ever do in your life. We are not taught this in school. We are not taught this by our family members. Chances are the people around you giving you advice on your life are not living their passion either. You know how many people are actually doing things that they're passionate and excited about? Not many people. So that's the process. Follow the passion process. Find the thing that you love doing that serves others, that will make you money as well. And when you can unlock that, the beautiful thing with that is it gives you something that you can use for the rest of your life. It's for the rest of your life. You can apply this and serve and help and make money as well. I love you, and I hope you apply this. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
All of you know the story of how this great school came to be, how the Stanfords lost their only child to typhoid at the age of 15. They had every right and they had every reason to turn their backs against the world at that time, but instead they channeled their grief and their pain into an act of grace. Within a year of their son's death, they'd made the founding grant for this great school, pledging to do for other people's children what they were not able to do for their own boy. The lesson here is clear, and that is, if you're hurting, you need to help somebody else ease their hurt. If you're in pain, help somebody else's pain. And when you're in a mess, you get yourself out of the mess, helping somebody out of theirs. And in the process, you get to become a member of what I call the greatest fellowship of all, the sorority of compassion and the fraternity of service. The Stanfords had suffered the worst thing any mom and dad can ever endure, yet they understood that helping others is the way we help ourselves. And this wisdom is increasingly supported by scientific and sociological research. It's no longer just woo-woo soft skills talk. There's actually a helper's high, a spiritual surge you gain from serving others. So if you want to feel good, you have to go out and do some good. But when you do good, I hope you strive for more than just the good feeling that service provides, because I know this for sure, that doing good actually makes you better. So whatever field you choose, if you operate from the paradigm of service, I know your life will have more value and you will be happy. I was always happy doing my talk show, but that happiness reached a depth of fulfillment, of joy that I really can't describe to you or measure when I stopped just being on TV and looking at TV as a job and decided to use television, to use it and not have it use me, to use it as a platform to serve my viewers. That alone changed the trajectory of my success. So I know this, that whether you're an actor, you offer your talent in the way that most inspires art. If you're an anatomist, you look at your gift as knowledge and service to healing.
Having compassion for other people is at the top of that list. I would say commitment is at the top of that list. And also a spirit of constructive engagement. And by compassion, I don't just mean sympathy. It certainly isn't pity. It's being present, and it's also feeling with other beings. You know, during the years of the Oprah show, I interviewed over 37,000 people one-on-one. So whenever I'm telling my girls anything and they say, they start rolling their eyes, I go, I'm the only person you're gonna talk to is talk to 37,000 people. So if I were you, I would pay attention. But during all those years of talking to over 37,000 people one-on-one, I could feel what they were feeling so strongly. Sometimes it made me sick, literally. So I had to learn how to feel how others were feeling, feel with others, which is what it means to be compassionate, to feel with others without taking in all of their stuff. Being compassionate means I feel with you it is one of the greatest qualities in the world to have if you're going to be majoring in what it takes to be a great human being. I feel with you. Means I not only am willing to walk in your shoes, it means my heart beats with yours. It means I see myself in you. It means I may not have shared that circumstance, but I know what heartbreak feels like. I know what pain feels like, and all pain is the same. It means I can feel your will to want to do better and be better. And I feel and I am with you. In spite of everything that's happened to you, I feel your need to rise. I want to help you rise. I want to rise with you.
If you can capture the humanity of people, if you can just capture the humanity of the people, of the stories that you're telling, you then get that much closer to your own humanity. And you can confront your bias, and you can build your credibility and hone your instincts and compound your compassion. You can use your gifts, that's what you're really here to do, to illuminate the darkness in our world.
So many people are worried about building a brand. I hear kids on social media talking about their brand. And I used to really resent the word when people would say to me, oh, you have this brand, because I never even thought about a brand. I just thought about day in and day out, making the best right choice for me. But now I embrace it because I recognize people see me as a brand. But for me, it's not a business. It is a question of what do you stand for? And I will say this, you're nothing if you're not the truth. So I've made a living, I've made a life, I've made a fortune, really. It's fantastic. All good from being true to myself. And that's if I could leave you with any message today, that is it. The biggest reward is not financial benefits, though it's really good. You can get a lot of great shoes. Nothing wrong with great shoes. But those of you who have a lot of shoes know that having great shoes and a closet full of shoes or cars or houses or square footage doesn't fill up your life. It doesn't. But living a life of substance can. Substance through your service, your offering of your whole self. And the baseline for how do you live a life of substance is whatever is the truth for you. What do you stand for?
The problem is everybody is meeting hysteria with more hysteria. And then we just are all becoming hysterical, and it's getting worse. What I've learned all these years is that we're not supposed to match it or even get locked into resisting or pushing against it. We're supposed to see this moment in time for what it is. We're supposed to see through it and then transcend it. That is how you overcome hysteria. And that is how you overcome the sniping at one another, the trolling, the mean-spirited partisanship on both sides of the aisle, the divisiveness, the injustices, and the out-and-out hatred. You use it. Use this moment to encourage you, to embolden you, and to literally push you into the rising of your life. And to borrow a phrase from my beloved mentor, Maya Angelou, just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like the hope springing high, you will rise.
People may not remember your every word. They may not remember all of your actions, but they certainly remember how your words and your actions made them feel. So let's leave here today with the collective memory of wanting to create enlightenment in the world. Let's leave here knowing that we can give people the sense that they have been heard and respected. Let's foster original thinking and humane treatment. Let's seek out the words we don't know, Let's do away with the us and them. I've seen us and them create a whole lot of problems, but I've never seen it solve one thing. Instead, let's nourish our artists. Let's offer the possibility of something better for all of us, because a new day is no longer on the horizon. The new day is now.
Nobody's journey is seamless or smooth. We all stumble, we all have setbacks. If things go wrong, you hit a dead end, as you will. It's just life's way of saying, time to change course. So ask every failure. This is what I do. Every failure, every crisis, every difficult time, I say, what is this here to teach me? And as soon as you get the lesson, you get to move on. If you really get the lesson, you pass and you don't have to repeat the class. If you don't get the lesson, it shows up wearing another pair of pants or skirt to give you some remedial work. And what I found is that difficulties come when you don't pay attention to life's whisper, because life always whispers to you first. And if you ignore the whisper, sooner or later, you'll get a scream. Whatever you resist persists, but if you ask the right question, not why is this happening, but what is this here to teach me? What is this here to teach me? It puts you in the place and space to get the lesson you need. My friend Eckhart Tolle, who's written this wonderful book called A New Earth, that's all about letting the awareness of who you are stimulate everything that you do. He puts it like this. He says, don't react against a bad situation, merge with that situation instead, and the solution will arise from the challenge. Because surrendering yourself doesn't mean giving up, it means acting with responsibility. Okay, many of you know that, as President Hennessy said, I started this school in Africa. And I founded the school where I'm trying to give South African girls a shot at a future like yours, Stanford. And I spent 5 years making sure that school would be as beautiful as the students. I wanted every girl to feel her worth reflected in her surroundings. So I checked every blueprint, I picked every pillow, I was looking at the grout in between the bricks, I knew every thread count of the sheets, I chose every girl from the villages, from 9 provinces, and yet last fall I was faced with a crisis I'd never anticipated. I was told that one of the dorm matrons was suspected of sexual abuse. Well, that was, as you can imagine, devastating news. First I cried, actually I sobbed for about a half an hour, and then I said, let's get to it. That's all you get, is a half an hour. You need to focus on the now, what you need to do now. So I contacted a child trauma specialist, I put together a team of investigators, I made sure the girls had counseling and support, and Gail and I got on a plane and flew to South Africa. And the whole time I kept asking that question, what is this here to teach me? And as difficult as that experience has been, I got a lot of lessons. I understand now the mistakes I made because I had been paying attention to all of the wrong things. I built that school from the outside in, when what really mattered was the inside out. So it's a lesson that applies to all of our lives as a whole. What matters most is what's inside. What matters most is the sense of integrity, of quality, and beauty. I got that lesson. And what I know is that the girls came away with something too. They've emerged from this more resilient and knowing that their voices have power.
I think some people think that, or under the impression that I was born empowered, that I was born coming out of the womb, ready to interview a Klansman. Then cut to commercial, we'll be right back. But the truth is, I know very well what it's like to be marginalized, to be told either subtly or quite directly that my contribution isn't or wasn't welcome, that my face was invisible, and that my needs were an affront. So back when I was doing the news in Baltimore, I asked to be paid the same as my co-anchor, who did exactly the same job as I was doing. And I expected that I would be compensated. So I went in and I asked that I would get the same amount of money. So he was doing the same job I was doing, except that he called me babe all the time. Babe, yeah, babe. Anyway, I was told by my news director and by the general manager, because first I went to the news director, then I went to general manager, and I was told that because I was a single woman who didn't have a mortgage and I didn't have kids, that I was not entitled to earn the same kind of money as the man who was sitting next to me doing the same thing. And I realized in that moment that my employers did not get it. They did not understand my value. But you know what? I did. So cut to AM Chicago. The team's hard at work, and they had been working for a long time. And after a year or so, we were asked to be syndicated. That work began to pay off. And before long, we were now no longer called AM Chicago. We're the national Oprah Winfrey show. I got a raise. This is before I owned myself. So I got a raise. But my producers did not. So I went into the boss at the time, and I asked that my producers, who incidentally were all female, I asked that they would be given a pay raise increase. And my boss, this is in 1986, said, why? They're only girls. What do they need more money for? Girls. I've used the word affectionately sometimes, referring to women as girls, and there was no affection in his tone. It was absolutely condescending. So, it takes a while to develop a voice. But once you have it, you damn sure better use it on stuff that matters. So I took a deep breath in that moment and said, either they're gonna get raises or I'm gonna sit down. I'm not gonna work if they don't get paid more, babe. Now, I would like to believe that I could have spoken that kind of truth to misogyny, even if I'd been all by myself. But here I was on the brink of finally getting what I really wanted and had been working many years for, a national show. I mean, I might have been too intimidated to stand my own ground against this guy if I were actually alone. But here's the thing, you're never alone. You're never alone. The sovereign sound of Maya Angelou's voice was pushing me forward that day, whispering, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So when I was faced with the opportunity to advocate for my producers, I silently called on some of the 10,000 and walked into my boss's office, hand in spirit, with the women who had come before me. I could feel Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald and Pearl Bailey and Sarah Vaughan and Lena Horne clutching their green books looking for a place to eat while they sang in supper clubs for whites only. And I could feel Reese Taylor and Rosa Parks refusing to relinquish their dignity in the face of death threats. All these women were with me that day, walking into the office in Chicago, as was Diana Carroll and Petula Clark and Joan Baez and Mary Tyler Moore and Moms Mabley and Barbara Walters and all of the astonishing women whose names none of us will ever even know, despite their sacrifice. And I'm pretty sure I even heard Shirley Chisholm urging me on with this thought: if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I understood that there were so many times that many women from my mother's generation, and God knows my grandmother's generation, who were forced to grit their teeth and just take it because standing up for themselves wasn't even an option. The risk was too great, and they knew it. But they also knew in their bones what my dear friend Maya put so eloquently into words when she says, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Because these women and so many others like them made the decision not to allow themselves to be reduced by the many injustices they were subjected to, I found the strength to act, if not just for myself, not just for my producers, but for all the women who in their ingenious ways subverted the rules, laid the foundation, and pushed the envelope just a little bit further for me.
For me, I've already made more money than I expected. I've already got more shoes than I know. And I'm like, okay, what to do with the shoes? You know, so, and it never was about material possessions. I don't think if I could have, if I'd sat down and said, how do I dream myself up to be able to get all this? I wouldn't have known how to do it. So I was driven by a passion that was bigger than the show in the beginning. And I believe that in order to continue, every person has a responsibility to use their life. You, everybody who came here today, your life may not be as big as mine, meaning not as many people know you. And the only difference between being famous and not is that more people know your name. The real reality is what Billy was singing and what Maddie talks about in his poetry, is that we are really all alike, except for our hair. We are really all alike. And that has been one of the greatest lessons I've learned in doing this television show, is that what everybody is looking for is validation. Yeah. In every experience, people are looking to know that they matter, that you matter, that I matter. In every encounter and all of your fights at home, all your arguments with your boss or with your children, with your husband, when you really peel back the layers and get down to what is this? What are we arguing about? You want to say, I matter. And I think that what we've been able to do on this show is to help people see that for themselves. And if I can be able to give that back to people in a way that makes them matter to themselves, then this is worth billions of dollars. Millions. It's priceless. It's priceless to be able to do that.
I know exactly the moment I started to feel valued, and for me, it was school. I wanted to be a fourth grade teacher because of Mrs. Duncan, and I haven't seen Mrs. Duncan since then, and Mrs. Duncan is here today. Mrs. Duncan! The moment I felt the most value was in my fourth grade class when Mrs. Duncan said to me, I was the one who was chosen to lead the class and whatever it was. So what was I like? I don't really remember. I do remember you. I
remember you were such a fluent reader. Well, if I had had a class full of students like Oprah, I would have been floating on air.
Mrs. Duncan instilled in me this sense of believing that I mattered. And that is what every human being is looking for. When you first heard that I had done something in life, did you know that it was me?
Yes, I kept up with you without your being aware of it.
And it was Mrs. Duncan who helped heal you?
For me, yes. It was Mrs. Duncan, and then it was my sixth grade teacher, Mr. Graham. It was school that made me feel a sense of value and connection.
You learned a lot on this story.
Oh, I learned a lot on this story. This story was life-changing for me.
Life-changing, really?
Life-changing. And people use that word rhetorically. Life-changing. It's changed the way I operate in my business, with my people, with my school. 1, 2, 3. You say that the most important question to ask of people who have gone through trauma is not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you.
Yeah.
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 So when you see, a church being shot up, or you see, all of the headline-making stories of people seemingly gone mad, your first thought is, what happened to that person?
Right.
Right. What has been life-changing for me is the question, what happened to you? Not what is wrong with you, but what happened to you? Which is an important question, not just for people who have been so-called traumatized, but it's the most important question you can ask of anyone. I can say that of all the stories I've ever done in my life and all of the experiences I've ever had and people I've interviewed, this story has had more impact on me than practically anything I've ever done.
It's changed the way you see everyone?
It's changed the way I see everyone. So when I have an employee who is acting out of line or who is just being a jerk, I don't think, what's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with that girl? What's wrong with that person? I think, I wonder what happened to them. I wonder what happened to them. I wonder what happened that caused them to behave that way. That's what this story did for me.
Before we came here, Deepak Chopra, great thought leader of our times, I had called him wanting to do an interview with him, and he said he was going to be coming to India. And I have a vision board. I keep a vision board. First vision board I ever started was to get Barack Obama elected. So I just had Barack Obama, and then I went back, and that vision board was right by in my bathroom by the bathtub. So every morning I would say, Barack Obama, President, Barack Obama, President. And then, this is in 2007, and then I decided I had to go back and put 2008 so that whoever was listening would know I didn't mean Barack Obama, President, 2012 or 2016. So I only had that as a vision. And then I put a picture, after Barack Obama won, I put a picture I cut out of a magazine of a woman on a camel, and it said, "Come to India." Come to India. And I've held that as my vision on my vision board for the past 3 years. So when this idea of coming with Deepak, I went, now it's time to fulfill the vision. So first impression, coming in the city, chaotic, and then being in the city with more people than I've ever encountered in my life. But still feeling not a sense of being unsafe.
I wanted to share with you this line from Brené Brown's latest extraordinary new book, Atlas of the Heart, that will be available come this Tuesday, November 30th. She says, our connection with others can only be as deep as our connection with ourselves. That's what we're talking about this week. And there perhaps is no time in recent memory when it's more necessary to actually cultivate empathy and connection in order to make sense of the profound changes that we're all undergoing. We just, everywhere we turn, we can't grapple with the many urgent issues facing us and facing our planet without understanding ourselves first. And in Atlas of the Heart, Brené and her team of researchers and therapists and educators and others have so richly explored how to cultivate an emotional vocabulary. Like, we need the words, the language, the expressions that help us process and identify what it is we're feeling and what is happening to us, and to be able to communicate that to other people. And what they've discovered is that without that, we won't find the solid ground within us that gives us the courage and the confidence to embrace love, to embrace happiness and our own vulnerability, to face and transcend our pains, or to navigate the great uncertainty that is the human condition. So in Brené's words, she says, with an adventurous heart and the right maps, we can travel anywhere and never fear losing ourselves, even when we don't know where we are. I just love that. The solid ground, the anchor we're searching for, is connection, and it is within each of us. But to forge meaningful connections with others, again, we have to first connect with ourselves. And I know we're doing a lot of connecting this week with family and friends. We have to establish a common understanding of the language of emotions and human experience in order to do that.
Here are variations on a few grand themes, beginning with this. Pick a problem, any problem. The list is long. Here are just a few that are at the top of my list. There's gun violence, and there's climate change and systemic racism, economic inequality, media bias, the homeless need opportunity, the addicted need treatment, the dreamers need protection, the prison system needs reforming, the LGBTQ community needs acceptance, the social safety net needs saving, and the misogyny needs to stop. Needs to stop. But you can't fix everything. And you can't save every soul. But what can you do? Here and now, I believe you have to declare war on one of our most dangerous enemies, and that is cynicism. Because when that little creature sinks in, its hooks into you, it'll cloud your clarity, it'll compromise your integrity, it'll lower your standards, it'll choke your empathy, and sooner or later, cynicism shatters your faith. When you hear yourself saying, oh, it doesn't matter what one person says, oh, well, so what? It's not going to make any difference what I do. Who cares? When you hear yourself saying that, know that you're on a collision course for our culture. And I understand how it's so easy to become disillusioned, so tempting to allow apathy to set in, because anxiety is being broadcast on 157 channels, 24 hours a day, all night long. And everybody I know is feeling it. But these times are here to let us know that we need to take a stand for our right to have hope. And we need to take a stand with every ounce of wit and courage we can muster. The question is, what are you willing to stand for? That question is going to follow you throughout your life. And here's how you answer it. You put your honor where your mouth is. Put your honor where your mouth is. When you give your word, keep it. Show up, do the work, get your hands dirty, and then you'll begin to draw strength from the understanding, the true knowing that history is still being written. You're writing it every day. The wheel's still in spin, and what you do or what you don't do will be a part of it.
Let failure be your friend. There are going to be times, of course, where you're going to win a lot. A lot of things are going to go your way. And it's wonderful to bask in that adulation and to feel proud of your successes. But there are also going to be times, the satisfaction that those moments bring, nothing can compare to that. Those victories will feed you for years to come and help you stay committed when your tank is sometimes empty. Winning is great. It's fantastic. I love it. I love being number one. I love winning. But it's the times when things go wrong, when you fall or fail, that you're actually going to learn the most about yourself. You know, all those years on the Oprah show, 25 years, we were the #1 show for 25 years. And that's because I lived with the intention to serve the audience. The audience came first every show. I would sit with the producers and say, well, I can't do that because I can't find the truth of myself in that show. I have to have a thread of truth to be able to hold on to. So I knew so well the audience. I felt like I was the audience. The audience was me, and I felt so connected. And then I ended that and started a new network. And I flailed for a while, and I was really upset with myself. But I will tell you that when I was able to shift the paradigm to start to looking at, wow, what I have instead of what I don't have, what I have instead of what I thought I'd lost, I was able to begin to turn things around. But it's those moments of uncertainty. It's the moments where, you know, all of my mistakes show up on the evening news. You can make a mistake. I can tell if I've done something wrong. It's on the CNN crawl. I can read about it. But learning from the moments where things weren't going so great, being able to get still, to connect with that which I know is God, the force, the power greater than myself, and to come back and realize that in order to move forward, you move forward by taking the next right step. You don't have to know everything to do. You don't have to know all the steps to make. Just what is the next right move.
It's true, you can't personally stop anybody from walking into a school with an assault rifle, nor can you single-handedly ensure that the rights that your mothers and your grandmothers fought so hard for will be preserved for the daughters that you may someday have. And it'll take more than you alone to pull 40 million Americans out of poverty. But who will you be if you don't care enough to try? And what mountains could we move, I think? What gridlock could we eradicate if we were to join forces and work together in service of something greater than ourselves? You know, my deepest satisfaction and my biggest rewards have come from exactly that. Pick a problem. Any problem, and do something about it, because to somebody who's hurting, something is everything.
As you're trying to figure out, what do I do? How should I do it? First of all, I will say this, that when you don't know what to do, my girls have heard this over 100 times. When you don't know what to do, you do nothing. You get still until you do know. Because when you have to ask everybody else, should I do this, should I, and that's whether it's buying a pair of shoes or going with a guy, buying a house, taking a job, should I? When you have to ask everybody else, it means you don't really know the answer fully yourself. So you get still, be still, and know the answer will come.
I had a job until I could figure out what it was really, what that gave my life its purpose and meaning. And I'd gotten demoted in my job in Baltimore as an anchor woman because as they hired me and then they decided I was the wrong color and I was the wrong size and I was the wrong, you know, I had lots of problems and they were trying to take me off the air. And I was making $22,000 a year. I thought I was in heaven because I was making my age. And my dream at the time was, Gail and I used to say, can you imagine if you're 40 and you're making 40,000? Ooh, that'd be it. So, that was as big as my dream was, just to make my age. And then I did this, they put me on a talk show one morning because they didn't know what to do with me. And I was interviewing the Carvel Ice Cream Man. It was a local talk show. And Benny Benny, who was Mrs. Chancellor's butler or something on All My Children. Anyway, a soap opera star who wasn't the lead star. Remember Benny? Benny and the Carvel Ice Cream Man. That's how I cut my teeth. And I finished that show. So it's not about the stars themselves or whoever the guests were, but I felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. All these years I've been misplaced in news because I couldn't relate to news. I was a news reporter, and I'd be out on the stories, and I'd be crying with the people. And I felt that I was exploiting the people with news. I couldn't, you know, put a microphone in people's face when they were going through tragedies and stuff. I just was so emotional. I was always getting little notes from my boss about, cut that out, you need to stop. So, but the moment I did that talk show, I felt like, oh, I can be myself. And that was August 14th, 1978. And that was the beginning of fulfilling the calling. And so since that time, August 14th, 1978, I've never had a problem with energy. Now, when I was working in news, I used to be exhausted all the time. Just exhausted all the time because I hated it. And the reason I didn't quit is because I'm not a quitter, number one, and because my father was like, better not quit that job. You're making $22,000 a year. Who's gonna pay a black woman $22,000 a year? You're never gonna make that kind of money again. You better save half of it. So I was reluctant to quit and think about doing something else because I thought, okay, everybody wants to be an anchor woman. At the time, that was like supposedly a big deal, being an anchor woman. So I thought, okay, I'll just stay with this until I can figure out what is the best thing to do. And interestingly enough, I was applying for what I wanted to do. I felt like I needed to be able to talk. And at the time, the only thing that was available was Good Morning America or the Today Show. So I called up this agent and I asked if he would accept my tape because I wanted to be like a substitute for Bryant Gumbel. And he said to me, there was only gonna be one Bryant Gumbel. And so there wasn't gonna be another one, that they weren't gonna let another black person on that show. He said that to me. And interestingly enough, he called me last week because somebody else mentioned his name to say he never said it, but he did say it. And I said to him, you know what? If you're ever told that, you never forget it. If somebody ever says to you, if you're ever rejected in that way, you never, ever, ever forget it. I said, but it's okay. I did okay. You did okay. It's okay. It's all right. But the answer to your question is, if you can find what is your passion, if you find what you love, you never get tired. Or if you do get tired, you're fueled by the energy of your work. So I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing at this time. I also know that what this show can do in terms of being a voice in changing the world, it's just the beginning of what this show can do. It's fun to do things like this, but and it's necessary to do things like this in order to be able to do the bigger, grander things, to change what happens to the face of children in Africa, for example, or what happens to education with kids in this country. So I believe that that what has happened to me is really the beginning of the greater passion to come. But if you find out what you're supposed to do, and you know what you're supposed to do by how it feels. You know, people wait on the voice of God to be the Moses in the burning bush. I think that was only Bible talk, you know, because he doesn't come to burning bushes for people. He comes through your heart. He speaks through your heart, through your feelings. And so you know if you're doing the right thing, if it feels like it's right to you. And when you hit the thing that feels right, when you know it's the right thing, you know it's right because it gives you your juice, and you know it's right because you would do it for nothing. You would do it for nothing and find a way to be able just to do it in order to be able to continue. That's how you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Nobody's journey is seamless or smooth. We all stumble, we all have setbacks. If things go wrong, you hit a dead end, as you will. It's just life's way of saying, time to change course. So ask every failure. This is what I do. Every failure, every crisis, every difficult time, I say, what is this here to teach me? And as soon as you get the lesson, you get to move on. If you really get the lesson, you pass and you don't have to repeat the class. If you don't get the lesson, it shows up wearing another pair of pants or skirt to give you some remedial work. And what I found is that difficulties come when you don't pay attention to life's whisper, because life always whispers to you first. And if you ignore the whisper, sooner or later, you'll get a scream. Whatever you resist persists, but if you ask the right question, not why is this happening, but what is this here to teach me? What is this here to teach me? It puts you in the place and space to get the lesson you need. My friend Eckhart Tolle, who's written this wonderful book called A New Earth, it's all about letting the awareness of who you are stimulate everything that you do. He puts it like this. He says, don't react against a bad situation, merge with that situation instead, and the solution will arise from the challenge. Because surrendering yourself doesn't mean giving up, it means acting with responsibility. Okay, many of you know that, as President Hennessy said, I started this school in Africa. And I founded the school where I'm trying to give South African girls a shot at a future like yours, Stanford. And I spent 5 years making sure that school would be as beautiful as the students. I wanted every girl to feel her worth reflected in her surroundings. So I checked every blueprint, I picked every pillow, I was looking at the grout in between the bricks, I knew every thread count of the sheets, I chose every girl from the villages, from 9 provinces, and yet last fall I was faced with a crisis I'd never anticipated. I was told that one of the dorm matrons was suspected of sexual abuse. Well, that was, as you can imagine, devastating news. First I cried, actually I sobbed for about a half an hour, and then I said, let's get to it. That's all you get, is a half an hour. You need to focus on the now, what you need to do now. So I contacted a child trauma specialist, I put together a team of investigators, I made sure the girls had counseling and support, and Gail and I got on a plane and flew to South Africa. And the whole time I kept asking that question, what is this here to teach me? And as difficult as that experience has been, I got a lot of lessons. I understand now the mistakes I made because I had been paying attention to all of the wrong things. I built that school from the outside in, when what really mattered was the inside out. So it's a lesson that applies to all of our lives as a whole. What matters most is what's inside. What matters most is the sense of integrity, of quality, and beauty. I got that lesson. And what I know is that the girls came away with something too. They've emerged from this more resilient and knowing that their voices have power.
Empowerment is authority. It is a signed permission slip to actually seize the day. It's the process of getting stronger and more confident and more engaged. And to be empowered is to move through the world without any kind of fear or any kind of apology. And with these gifts comes an even deeper privilege, I believe, and that is the ability to take charge of your own life, to own yourself, and claim your rights. And here's what I know for sure, that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I have been given so much. I've earned it, I've been blessed with it, but I've been given a lot. And that's why I've chosen to use my life to lift other people up.
I'm content. I'm not just relaxed. I'm content, because I know a lot of rich people who are not happy, but I am not one of them.
But when
I am one of the happiest rich people you are ever going to see.
Well, when you're trying to get away from it all and just get away from everything, you just relax at one of your homes, or?
Yes, I relax. Well, and also it doesn't take a lot for me to relax. I can be happy looking at a leaf. Gail will say, "What are you sitting out under the trees with your thoughts?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I can be happy with a book. I can be happy reading poetry. I can be happy in front of a fire. I can be happy with my dogs. I can be, yeah."
I'd like
crack me up. I don't know why.
Thank you.
I have always known this about celebrity. The real power of being somebody that somebody knows, and I really think that the only difference between being famous and not is that more people know your name. So the only difference between understanding that is understanding that what Selma has done, what Susan has done, what Anna has done, Rebecca has done, what Jim has done, what I've done, you too can do. Because true philanthropy comes from living from the heart of yourself and giving what you have been given. How will you do that? How will you use your personality, the energy of your personality, to serve that which is your soul's calling? I know this for sure. Any life, no matter how fantastic it is, how glorious it seems, how much attention you receive, how much square footage you have, any life and every life is enhanced by the sharing and the giving and the opening up of the heart space. Your life gets better when you can find a way to share it with someone else. So what we've done, you can do. The real empowerment comes when every person leaves this room and makes a decision. Maybe that decision is that you will write a check and support some of the wonderful organizations you've heard here today. But the true decision is, how will you use yourself? How will you use everything that you have been given to serve that which is greater than yourself? How will you use that to become truly, authentically empowered? Now, it is a beautiful thing to receive an award and to be on the cover of Variety. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful thing. But the true reward is in the lives that you are able to touch and the people who you know you have impacted.
How do I define success? Let me tell you, money's pretty nice. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that it's not about money, because money is very nice. I like money. It's good for buying things. But having a lot of money does not automatically make you a successful person. What you want is money and meaning. You want your work to be meaningful, because meaning is what brings the real richness to your life. What you really want is to be surrounded by people you trust and treasure, and by people who cherish you. That's when you're really rich. Are you ready to allow abundance and blessings. People can't figure out how I got to be so successful. It is because I have lived in the space of spirit my whole life. My favorite Bible verse, because I am Christian, is Acts something. I used to know the number, but it's in Acts. Y'all can Google it. But it says, thank you, 1728. In God I live and move and have my being. I live and move and have my being. And you want to know why I am really so successful? I knew that at 4 years old. I knew that when my grandmother said, you better watch me now, because one day you're going to have to learn how to wash these clothes and hang them up like this. So we had to watch how I hold these clothespins in my mouth. I went, And the reason I could do that is because spirit, otherwise known as intuition, my instinct said, that's not going to be my life. So we all have that spiritual side. And this lesson tonight is about connecting to it. I believe that beneath the surface of all physical problems is a spiritual solution. There is a spiritual solution. Why? Because you are a spiritual being having a human experience. That's the beginning of understanding spirituality.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.